yesterday's session. Today, the agenda for today's session, we are going to continue with this subnetting concept, and followed with once the subnet has been over, we will be starting with VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. Okay, so what is VPC? What are all the associated entities we are going to discuss? So what is the subnet? The subnet is nothing but dividing a single network into various smaller networks, has been termed as subnet. Each and every subnet need to have a subnet address. Okay, when we route the traffic in to the corresponding subnet, we need a subnet mask. Okay, in terms of subnet has been concerned, we need this subnetwork address for to identify each and every subnet, and we also need of a subnetwork mask. Then only the traffic will be routed to the appropriate network, and we should also have the range of IP addresses that we can assign to the computer in the subnet. These are all the three things that we need to aware of. Okay, yesterday itself we have discussed about what is a subnet. For example, a company XYZ, if they want to have branches across 5 locations, and each and every branch, what is the requirement? Meaning 5 branches. Number of branches is 5. With each branch, they need to have 30 computers. Then how you can able to divide this? Okay, subnet. How many subnets? What are the IP addresses that can be assigned to 30 computers in that subnet? That we are going to discuss. Okay, so with the yesterday's example, we have taken the 192.100.10.0. Okay, this is the network address. It is the network address. So here what we need to do, step 1, we want to find out to which class it belongs to. Being it belongs to class C. Therefore, what is the mask? 255.255.255.0 is the default mask. You know the default mask for the classful addressing scheme is fixed. Okay, here what you need to do, here in this class C, these 3 parts corresponds to network part, and the last part only corresponds to host part. Therefore, you may have 2 to the power of 8 minus 2 host. Okay, 2 to the power 8 is 256 minus 2. We can have at the maximum 254 computers in this network. Okay, so if it is class C, so here if you want to divide the network into, here how many class C subnetwork possible, accordingly you need to borrow some bits from the host portion. Okay, so here in the host portion we are having 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 zeros, remaining 255.255.255.80. okay, so if we convert all these things, all will be 8 ones. All will be 8 ones. 255 means 8 ones. Okay, now this is, now how many subnet that we need to have? Accordingly we need to borrow. Let me borrow 1 0 and place 1. Then if it is the case, 2 to the power n is equal to 2 subnets alone will be possible. If we borrow the second 0, then 2 power 2, 4 subnets will be possible. How many subnets that we are in need of? We need to have 5 branches, therefore 5 subnets. So minimum we need to borrow 3. If it is 3, 2 to the power of 3 is equal to 8. Okay, so this is the first thing that you need to do. So under this sense, so you want to identify how many number of bits that we need to borrow. Now after borrowing 3 bits, how many bits is left for host? 2 to the power of 5, which is equivalent to 32 minus 2, which is equal to 30 host in each and every subnet. So this is the way by which we can identify how many. Our requirement is 30 hosts, so our requirement can be satisfied in this following scenario. We may have how many subnets? 2 to the power of 3, 8 subnets, and each every subnet we may have 30 computers. Okay, so this is the way. Therefore, totally 8 3s are 24. 240 computers is possible in this if we go for 5 subnets. Okay, so let me first decide what we did here. We have find out the subnet address. Okay, here you want to, this is a binary representation, you want to make it as a decimal. Yesterday itself I had conveyed how to make it as a decimal. here into 2 power 0, 2 power 1, 2 power 2, 2 power 3, 2 power 4, here 2 power 5, 2 power 6 and 2 power 7. 2 power 5 is 32, 2 power 6 is 64, 2 power 7 is 128. Therefore 4, a 2s are 10, 4, 14 remainder 1, 224. Now the subnet address is here, this equivalent is 224. Therefore, we have find out the subnet address, that is 255.255.255.224. Okay, is it clear? The first part, finding out the subnetwork mask. This is the subnet mask. This default mask, in terms of mask has been concerned, as I already told, we have a default mask and we have a subnet mask. The default mask is fixed. The subnet mask will be variable, varies according to our requirement. How many subnets that we are in need of? Accordingly, it will vary. Please kindly make note of all those things. What are all the examples that I have given? Please note this example. I give you 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. The next, what we need to do? We need to find out the subnet. We have computed the first part. We need to find out the subnet. Subnet mask is over. Now we want to find out the subnetwork address. Okay, it is very simple. What is the address? Basic 192.100.10.0. So here, what is the mask that we have computed? 255.255.255. So here you want to take this last computed value. Out of this 255, we will be having only one value. You want to take the value minus this value from 256. You will be getting to 32. So you want to increase by 32. 0.32 is the first subnet address. 192.100.10.64 is the subnet address. 192.100.10. Plus 32. 96 is the next address. 192.100.10. Plus 32 instance. 30, 230, 228. 128 is this next address. 192.100.10. Plus 32. 160.192 plus 32, 224. Okay, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 subnets. Okay, so let me take this first. Our requirement is only 5 subnets. Therefore, the network, the main network whose IP address 192.100.10.0. Then the first subnet address may be here. This is your network address. You may, the computer in this first, it may start with all the computers associated here may start with the following address. Okay, you just make a note how to compute this 32. You want to minus from 256, since the maximum number of value that you can have is 256. This 224 need to be minused with 256. After that, the remaining value, after the remainder, you want to add each and every remainder here. That's all. Now the range of computers within this subnet is third part. In the first subnet, 192.100.10.0, the first computer starts from 192.100.10.1 up to the last computer in this network, 192.100.10.0. 10.31. Okay, so this is the range of IP address within this network. Here the second, in this second subnet, 192.100.10.33 is the first computer. 192.100.10.63 is the range of IP addresses in the computer. Okay. Similarly, for third subnet, 192.100.10.65 is the first computer. 192.100.10.95 is the last computer. So, while deciding this address, you want to add plus 165 minus the next network address 95. So, this is the range that you want to take. Here it will come around 30 computers for each and every subnet. So let me make a check how data will be routed. Okay. So given this particular scenario, how a data will be routed, let me make a check. So up to this, is it clear? Please respond, yes or no. Now we have computed the subnet mask. This is the subnet mask for this requirement. The subnet mask is a variable one. It is not a fixed value. It depends upon how many subnet, what is the IP address, what is the class address that we belongs to, how many computers that we need to have in that subnet. Accordingly, it will vary. The second part is range of subnetwork address. For each and every subnet, we need an address. For that, you need to minus the value apart from this 255 from 256, and you want to increment the subnet, the IP address by the value. In this case, the value is 32. You want to increment by each subnet by 32. Then the range of IP address is the subnet's first address up to the next subnet's previous address. Okay, the next subnet here starts with 32. This subnet starts with 1. Therefore, we can have an address starting from 1 to 31 similarly. So we have computed all those things. I will check you how a packet can be delivered from one source to another source with this following scenario. Okay. Now imagine we have an office across 5 branches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches. Okay. So here each and every branch will have an IP address. The IP address associated with this network 192.100.10.0, 192.100.10.32, 192.100.10.64, 192.100.10. Next one 96. Okay, etc. Now we have a computer. Imagine you have a computer here. Okay, so all this is connected. All this subnet is connected to the main router, which is connected to a single network. So here for this network 192.100, this is the main network. Okay, this main network has been divided into various smaller networks. If a traffic coming from the internet, imagine yes, traffic is sending from a particular network. We are receiving a traffic to this network. The IP address is 192.100.10.35. Okay, let me imagine the IP address is 10.35. Once this data packet reaches this network alone knows that we have 5 subnetworks. So for outside environment, doesn't know whether this network is having 5 subnets or 10 subnets, doesn't know. Simply they will send the traffic 100.10.95. Okay, like that they will send the traffic. You alone need to decide. Under this router alone need to decide whether, imagine that this branch is in Madurai, this branch is in Chennai, this branch is in Bangalore, this branch is in Mysore, this branch is in Delhi. Okay, so to this particular router, the main router alone knows we have 5 different networks under which our computers have been distributed. This router knows this subnetwork mask. By applying this subnetwork mask only, it can able to identify to which subnet the particular data packet need to be transmitted, whether to Madurai or to Chennai or to Bangalore. Okay, so once let me take this example. This packet reaches this particular destination. Imagine the IP address designated as 35 from a source network reaches this router. then the router need to decide whether the data need to be transmitted to Madurai, Chennai or Bangalore. What it will do, it will take the IP address 192.110.35. Okay, it will take this subnet mask. Okay, the subnet mask is 255, 255, 255.224. Now it will perform a exclusive OR operation on top of it to identify to which subnet that it need to be transmitted. It will perform a exclusive OR operation. Exclusive OR operation means either 0, 1, 0, 0, 1 means 0. All things are 0. We will be having only if both the value is 1, then only 1. So what you need to do, you want to convert this. So wherever you have a 95255, you can replace with the above set. Okay, exclusive or with the 192.255 will give 192. So 10 with 255 will give 10. Here only you want to compute. How to compute? So first you want to find out the, this is the exclusive or. First what you need to do, you want to find out the decimal part. Okay, you want to find out the decimal part. So 35. 2 ones are 2. So to remainder you have 2 sevens are 14, remainder 1. Similarly, 2 eights are 16, remainder 1. 2 fours are 8, remainder is 0. 2 twos are 4, remainder 0. 2 1 0. Now the value is 1 0 0 0 1 and 1. Okay, 4. So to make it 8 bits, you can replace it with 2 0. This is the value associated with 35. For 224, you already know the value associated with 224 is 1 1 1 1 2 3 4 5 zeros. Now you make a exclusive OR. Here 1 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. Only you have 1 1 1 and remainder 0. Now you want to replace 2 power 1, 2 power 2, 2 power 3, 2 power 4, 2 power 5, here 2 power 6. What is 2 power 6? 2 power 6 which is equivalent to 64. Therefore, the value here is, you want to replace it with the 64. The value is, subnet address is 64. So once the subnet address has been computed, what happened here in this case? So the subnet here is 64. Okay, so it will route the traffic to this subnet. Here you can find the range of IP address of the subnet that we have computed. Okay, what is the IP address? The 35 resides only in this computer. Okay, the first computer starts with 33 and then the last computer ends with 63. Therefore, the 35 computer IP address with this following IP address is residing in this third subnet. Then the computer will receive the data. This is the way by which, by using this subnet mask, the router can identify to which subnet the computer need to be transferred. Okay, so very important in terms of network has been concerned. Here in a cloud, as a cloud engineer, what is VPC? Okay, so in terms of this Amazon account has been concerned, there is a default VPC for each and every user, and we can have our own VPC, own virtual private cloud. Okay, so far what we have discussed, whenever we launch any instance, it will be launched in the default VPC only. Now we are going to discuss about own virtual private cloud. A VPC is nothing but a virtual network. Okay, it is not a physical network. It is a virtual network which resembles the normal traditional network. Okay, which resembles a traditional network. So you have a network in your company. Network may have a network address. The computers accommodated in the network may have IP address. So similarly, if you want to create your own network similar to that of your traditional in-house network, you need to go for this VPC. Okay, so here you can create a own network. That the network may contain any number of computers according to your requirement. You can go on add the computers in this VPC. If it is a physical network, there is a limitation. Okay, if you want to add a computer, then the network should have a capacity to accommodate the computer. Whereas in VPC, so it is highly scalable. Scalable in sense you can able to add any number of computer to this VPC, and once the activity has been over, you can able to release all those computers. Okay, this is the way by which you can make use of this VPC. Okay, so here in this VPC, you need to aware of certain terminologies. What are all the terminologies that you need to aware of? You need to know what is a subnet. In this subnet has been concerned, there are two categories of subnet. One is a public subnet, and another one is private subnet. So similar to that of IP address, the IP address consists of two types of IP address. One is a public IP address, and another one is private IP address. You people are aware. Any address starts with 0, 172, and 192 comes under this private IP address. Okay, address starts from 10.0.0 to 10.255.254. Similarly, 192.16.020 to 192.31.020. So any address that is starting from this has been termed as a private IP address. A computer in an internet connected computer cannot have this IP address. We will be having only public IP address only. Okay, so here similarly in terms of subnet has been concerned, there are two types of subnets that you can create. One is a private subnet, another one is a public subnet. If you launch the computer in a public subnet, this computer is accessible to the external world through a router. Okay, that is you can able to access this computer via internet. If you create a computer in a private subnet, it is not accessible. It can be accessible only in-house only. So these are all the things associated with a public and private subnet. We want to specify whether the subnet is private address or subnet is a public address according to your requirement while creating this VPC. Okay. Apart from that, what you need? So if it is a public subnet, you need to have a gateway, internet gateway. Another component that you need to aware is internet gateway. Okay, you need to aware a router. So internet gateway, what is the use of internet gateway? If it is a public subnet, you need to have a internet gateway. Through this internet gateway only, the public subnet can have a computer within this public subnet can have a communication with the external world. Any communication, either an incoming communication or outgoing communication, need to go through this internet gateway only. That is the key thing associated with internet gateway. So how the computer know the existence of other computer? How the data can be transmitted? It is the responsibility of router. You need to configure a router for each and every subnet. Whether it is a public subnet or it is a private subnet, you need to configure a router. Okay, so if it is a private subnet, the router is configured with the private IP address, the subnet address 10.0. Example, let me take this example. This is the IP address. The target will be local if it is a private subnet. If it is a public subnet, you need to configure the internet gateway address also. The address of internet gateway need to be configured in the routing table. Okay, so while discussing this routing, you have a routing table. You have already aware of these things. If you want to have a more clear explanation, I will give you. Okay, so being it is assumed that you know the basics of networking, I am only going through that. I am not going in depth from basics. You know the purpose of router and routing table. The router is used to route the packet from source to destination based upon the informations in the routing table. Routing table contains the following informations: the destination network and the where to reach, how many number of routers, that is hop count, the number of routers that you need to take care of. Then here, what is the target device? the packet need to be transmitted. Okay, these are all the things associated with the routing table. So here, if the routing table associated with the router of a private network will contain only the subnet address and the target is local. Why so? Because the computer within this private network can have a communication only among themselves only, not to the external world. Whereas if a computer in a public network, they can have communication among themselves and also to external world. For the communication to be established with the external world, the internet gateway address need to be mentioned on the routing table. Okay, that is the thing that I had listed here. Now let me look into this following scenario. What we are going to do now is we are going to what is VPC and what is public VPC and what is a private VPC, what is internet gateway and what is the role of router. Here the scenario that we are going to create a simple scenario. We are going to create a VPC, virtual private cloud, which contains two subnets, subnet 1 and subnet 2. Okay, subnet 1 and subnet 2. Here, this subnet, I am going to create it as a public subnet. This subnet, I am going to create as a private subnet. So, if it is a public subnet, what do we need? We need a gateway. For this, we need an internet gateway. So, also we need a router. For both the subnets, we need a router. Here too, we need a router. This corresponds to internet gateway. Here, a computer, when it is launched on a public subnet, okay, a EC2 instance, need to be assigned a public IP address so that it can have a communication. Here, the computer, what we need to do, this we want to first create a VPC. Step 1, we need to first create a VPC, virtual private cloud. The address for this VPC is 10.0.0.0 slash we are going to make it as the VPC 16. Okay, so 16 instance, this is a representation in a CIDR notation. The first subnet address is 10.0.0.0 slash 24. The first subnet, what is the second subnet is 10.0.0.1 slash 24. Okay, this is the second subnet address. The first subnet address starts with 0. You know what is the subnet and how to divide the subnet. The VPC main VPC address is 10.0.0. The subnet address is here 10.0.0.024. That means how many computers that you can have in this subnet? 32 minus 24, which is equal to 8. 2 power 8 is equal to 256 computers that you can have in this subnet. The second subnet address, the first computer's address starts with 10.0.0.0 is the first subnet. Okay, so first address 10.0.1.0. Similarly, it will go on. I will show how you are to specify. Okay, sorry, wrongly mentioned. Here it is not 0.1, it is 1.0. This is the first subnetwork address. The second subnetwork address is 1.0. Okay, slash 24. So here, being the mask is 255.255. This is the first subnet. This is the second subnet address. Okay. So here, if we have multiple computers here in this subnet, the first computer starts with 10.0.0.0 is your subnet address. The first computer address is 10.0.1. Similarly, 10.0.0.2 up to 255. 10.0.0.255. You can't use 255 also because it is a broadcast address. If you want to send a message to all the computer in that network, you want to issue this address 10.0.0.255. Okay, so therefore the computer's address can be starting with 1 up to 254. This is the first subnet. The second subnet address is 10.0.1.0. Therefore, the first computer here starts with, the second subnet's first computer starts with 10.0.1.1. Similarly, 10.0.1.2 up to 254. Okay. These are all the IP addresses that we can assign to the computer belonging to the private subnet. Okay. Assume that this subnet is a private subnet. This subnet is going to be assigned as a public subnet. Therefore, what I need to attach for this subnet, I need to attach a router. The router should contain the routing table, which provides the information related to how to route the data across these computers only. It should not provide an IP address to this internet gateway. Whereas the router that is associated with subnet 1 should contain information how to route the data into internally, as also how to route the data to the external world. Therefore, it need to contain an IP address of internet gateway also. I will show you while doing this practical. This is the small use case that we are going to start with. Okay. In a real-time scenario, what they will do, they will be having a web server here, a computer that they launch may be a web server, and they may have a database server in a private subnet, and there may be a sync between a web server and connection between a web server and the database server. User can able to access only web server through internet, and all the data submitted by the user by inter will be stored in the backend database. User can't able to access the database server. Why so? Because it is launched on a private network. Okay, this is the scenario, real-time scenario where we need to have a public subnet and where we need to have a private subnet. Is it clear for you? If not else, please let me know in case any doubt before proceeding further. So subnet is one of the important concept. How to create this, the particular scenario. Okay. Let me connect to this Amazon. Let me connect to we have already connected. Okay, now you choose the service. Go to service. You can find under network service VPC. Click on VPC. Okay, you can create a VPC either going on this start VPC wizard and launching instance, or you can go on click on this VPC and create VPC directly here. Okay, this is the default VPC. You can find the VPC is a default VPC. This is the VPC that is available. Let me create a VPC. Create VPC. Let me assign a name tag. Okay, the VPC name is 0. Let me assign this IP address, which is 10.0.0.0/16. Okay, it is the address. So here the tenancy is default. Let me create a VPC. Now a virtual private cloud with the following IP address will be created. Now we can find this is the name of this VPC with this available IP address. Okay. So now what you need to do, you want to create a subnet under that VPC. Okay. Click on this subnet. Click on this subnet. Now these are all the subnets that is available for the default VPC. So now you are going to create a subnet. Create subnet. The name of the subnet. Let me make it to 0. public subnet. Name of the subject is Thiru. Let me make it to public. So, to which VPC the subnet belongs to? You have for the following VPC. Now, the Thiru is the VPC under which the subnet need to be associated. This is the VPC under which subnet is associated. Okay. Do you want to have any availability zone? Yes, if you want, you can have preference. What is the IP address block? The IP address block is 10.0.0.0/24. This is the IP address block associated with this first subnet. Just create. Now you can find the IP address, the subnet, which is if you take the property of the subnet. So this is the IP address of the subnet. It belongs to this VPC. Okay. So the routing table associated with the subnet is 10. Local. Also because we yet to attach this internet gateway. The default routing table contains the following information. Okay. So next, what you need to do? You want to attach internet gateway, else we can create another subnet. Okay, so the routing table is saved successful. After creating that, you want to edit it and the route need to be saved. So let me create a internet gateway. Okay, so create internet gateway. The name of internet gateway is, let me make it to Thiru. You are going to attach to this public Thiru internet gateway. Yes, create. Now, what is the status of internet gateway? It is detached. Okay, what we need to do? So we need to attach it with the VPC. Now, what I did here, I had created a VPC. I had created a virtual private cloud with 10.0.0.0/16 as its address. Within that VPC, I have created one subnet. The subnet address 10.0.0.0/24. Then this subnet is containing a routing table. Now the I am going to the routing table contain the information how to route within this network. Okay, that is the information associated. Now I am going to create an internet gateway. I have created an internet gateway. Now I need to attach this gateway to this VPC. I need to attach this gateway to this subnet. These are all the things that I need to go for, the internet gateway. Now the internet gateway is found to be detached, attached to the VPC. What is the name of the VPC? This is a Thiru VPC. Now it is attached. Now we can find the internet gateway got attached to the VPC. Okay. So now the internet subnet, you have a VPC. Name of the VPC is Thiru. It contains this external here. This contains the VPC contains one subnet. As of now, it contains one subnet, and we have created a internet gateway and attach the internet gateway to this VPC. Means all the computer within that VPC, now they can make a internet connection to this internet gateway. Okay, so next, NAT gateway is a separate gateway. Network address translation we will discuss. Okay, this is the subnet through public. The subnet target is here. Okay, so here you want to do the following thing. This is the routing table associated with that. Okay, the routing table, this is the routing table. The name of the routing table is associated with the Thiru subnet. This is the name of the VPC that it is associated. Okay, so you can find the routes here. The routing table contains which only the local. Let me make a edit. Click on add another route. In this sense, what you need to do, you want to add the destination. Okay, internet gateway. You want to specify the internet gateway. You can find if you click on target, automatically the internet gateway will be assigned here. Okay, the target is internet gateway where to the external world. Okay, all the traffic associated with this router need to be targeted. External traffic need to be targeted here. 10.0.0.0 slash 24. Being it is a subnet, it need to be associated here. Click on save. Okay, so yes, we want to first association. These are all the association. First, if you find that the subnet are not explicitly associated with any routing table and are therefore associated with the main routing table. So what are all the things associated with the main routing table is applicable to this subnet. While you create another subnet, I will let you know how to associate with this separate routing table. Now we have created a VPC. Now we have created a subnet under the VPC. The subnet is attached to the VPC. Now we have created a routing table. Okay, the routing table is attached to the VPC. So we have created an internet gateway. The internet gateway is attached to the VPC. Therefore, if any computer that you launched in the subnet can be accessible through this internet gateway to the external world. This is the thing that is associated with the particular scenario. Very simple exercise. Okay, now we will go through a lot of things in the forthcoming sessions. Our next session will be on Tuesday. Here in the Tuesday, we will be going further deep. How to create a private subnet, okay, like a public subnet, how to attach this routing table, how to create two instances. Let me create two instances, one are public subnet and one is a private subnet. And if you try to access this instance one, which is created in public subnet from your computer, you can able to access. If you try to access the instance in private subnet, it won't be accessible. These are then laterly we will create a ELB in the subnet. We will be having a database like higher end scenarios will be discussed. So the being it is a basic, today's session is dealing with what is VPC, what is subnet, what is the role of routing table, and how to create a simple VPC with only one subnet, and how to associate. You also make use of this wizard also. So not only this thing, you can also make use of this wizard. You have a wizard, start VPC wizard. The wizard will carry you VPC with a single public, VPC with the public and private subnets. Okay, VPC with the public private subnets with the hardware VPN access. We will have a discussion of all those things. Okay, the VPC, if you want VPC with a single public subnet, simply go on select. What you need to give. So you can find by default it will be assigned. You want to specify the VPC name only. The VPC name is RAM. Okay, RAM VPC. RAM Virtual Private Cloud. Here what is the address? Automatically the address will be assigned. It starts from only 16. You can have a subnet mask up to 28 here. You can create a VPC with /16 to /28 as the mask. Okay. So here the VPC name, it is the public subnet. The default the public subnet is 10.0.0/24. Then here the name of the subnet is a public subnet. Okay. So if you want the DNS host name, yes, create a VPC instance. Automatically a VPC will be created. That VPC contains one public subnet. Okay. So here if you want to launch the instance, quickly launch an instance. That's all. Create. You have a RAM VPC. If you check to the RAM VPC, now it is showing that the RAM VPC contains the following IP address. Okay. If you click on this subnet, you can find a subnet. Yeah, subnet by name through for subnet. If you click on this through subnet, the through subnet is associated with RAM VPC. Okay, you can find the routing table associated with this subnet is RTT. Routing table contains the both information. You can find the routing table. It contains a route to local. It also contains a route to internet gateway. Okay. So if you want to change the name of public subnet, you can make it as RAM. RAM subnet. So if you take this routing table, you can find you have the following routing table, which is associated to RAM VPC. Okay. So here it is associated with route. So the routing table, all your subnets are associated with the routing table. So this is the way. If you launch your instance, the instance, for example, I am going to EC2. I am going to launch an instance. Now you can find I am going to launch Amazon instance. I am going to choose this. Third step, you can find initially you have only one subnet. If you click on this VPC network, the default network is VPC. If you click on here, you can find the VPC that we have created through VPC and RAM VPC. If I click on RAM VPC, automatically a computer will be landed in this RAM VPC, so which is a private network. Others can't able to access the computer unless I give permission to them. This is the way by which I can launch a computer in a subnet. If it is a public subnet, the computer can be accessible from the external world. If it is a private network, you can't able to access the computer. So these are all the ways by which you can create a subnet and you can attach with the subnet and so on. If you have any doubt, this is the basics. We will be going further. We will be having a lot of discussion in this VPC. You can remove this VPC. So once our activity has been over, it is a best practice to remove all those.